there's a lot of agricultural groups. Don't want to name them because they're probably not going to like it.
Okay.
But yes, we've been working with them for years. There was a competitor store across the freeway. They used to come in and laugh at us every day.
That's demeaning. The
Well,
fuck?
they're out of business.
You think it's feasible?
It's feasible.
That type of robotics in the grow room?
If they could do it for produce, lettuce, they could do it for cannabis. California weed is going to be like French wine. We're going to ask for a higher amount of money because our demand is going to be higher. And I want you to get it low enough to where you can still make money.
The Grow World community is home to over 23 countries of the biggest commercial cannabis growers in the game. Growers join our community to trial new solutions in their facilities, such as lighting, nutrients, media, and more. So if you own, operate, or work at a commercial cultivation facility anywhere in the world, join the movement for free at growworld.com. We have hundreds of products and services you can trial today. Take your grow to new heights and try before you buy. Here's a quick list of some of our most popular trial campaigns that made this tour possible. When I was putting together the NorCal tour, I had one company in mind, and that was Faven. Born and raised in NorCal, they started selling their under-canopy 120-watt LED lights in June of 2023. But do not let that date fool you. These guys are industry vets. They've literally built this industry. They are a dream team of the top commercial growers, manufacturers, and hydro retailers in the game. And as our title sponsor, I can tell you we've been working a lot on preparing an amazing tour in NorCal, and they are so easy to work with. They let the product and quality speak for itself. And just like our team, they're humble. These are real, genuine dudes, heads down, numbers up. And if you give them the opportunity to set up a Faven under canopy lighting trial at your facility, you will not regret it. So check them out. It's the title sponsor of the Grow World NorCal tour. It's Faven. We are what we eat, and that lends itself to our plants as well. Check out United Nutrients, the nutrient company that partners with blenders that have been in the industry for 40 plus years. I want to pay some respects to Quest. They have proudly been serving our industry since 2006. I mean, at this point, come on, they are the godfathers of climate control. They are constantly taking feedback from growers, and one of my favorite parts is they're just constantly innovating. They are continually improving their products based upon this feedback. So what are you waiting for? Go sign up for your consultation, chat with the Quest team today.
We're ethnically Chinese,
Uh-huh.
but it's a long story, but what my grandparents told me was, or my uncles told me was, during World War II, when the Japanese were invading China, they were living in southern China, right where the Chinese-Vietnam border is now.
Okay.
So they went across the border to Vietnam to get away from the war. So they settled in North Vietnam on this little island, not too far from the Chinese-Vietnam border. That's where my parents were born.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And when did they come over here?
My parents came here. So once my mom was pregnant with me, they saw no life in Vietnam because they're literally from a tiny island, and like an island in North Vietnam, South of China, little fishing village. Like,
Okay.
whatever you caught is what you ate that day, or whatever
Wow.
you could trade it away. So when my mom got pregnant with me, they had a chance my uncles, some relatives left North Vietnam, late 70s, ended up in Hong Kong because that's the most western city they could actually escape to.
Really?
Yeah. So from there, my parents got a chance to immigrate to US. My parents honestly didn't want to come, but everybody in the neighborhood's like, "Hey, you have a chance to leave here. Make it have a chance to make it in the US. So why are you gonna give this up?" So that's why I'm here.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they moved to California
They
first.
moved in California. I believe they came into the port of San Francisco. We ended up here in Sacramento because it's the craziest thing. So there's a part of Sacramento called Lemon Hill Apartments or Lemon Hill. It's a general area in South Sacramento. Most of the people all came from this little village or around this village in North Vietnam. They all immigrated to,
Really?
yeah, one apartment complex in Sacramento.
Wow.
Crazy, yeah. I didn't really know the history of my family because my parents didn't really talk about it. My grandparents didn't want to talk about it. Nobody wanted to tell us anything.
Why was that?
I don't know. They just never really want to talk about the past. They're like, they worry about today.
It's a source of pain for them, maybe?
I don't know. I wasn't really too close to my grandparents growing up. I mean, they raised me, but they never talked about where they came from. They
Hmm.
didn't talk about their history. I found this most of this out by going back to Vietnam and talking to my family that still lives in North Vietnam.
Are they still living in that fishing village?
No, that fishing village is long gone. There's nothing really there. It's pretty much in all ruins from what I was told.
Mhm.
Most of my family, well, the remaining family I have live in Ha Long Bay, which is like a resort area of North Vietnam.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And, talk to me about your upbringing in Sacramento. What was it like?
Uh, it's like any other kid, honestly. We went to school. Our little ethnically Chinese community lived in that one little apartment
Mhm.
complex. So we all stayed around there pretty much my whole life. So that area where I grew up, it's only 10 minutes from my store now. Yes.
Really?
My mom still lives where once we moved out of that apartment, we lived in a house 5 minutes away, which is halfway between my store and where that apartment is.
Wow.
So I've been around this area for 44 years.
Your whole life.
My whole life.
And you have
43 years, sorry. First year
yeah.
I was in Hong Kong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't remember those years.
Yeah, of course. So you have built an empire here in Sacramento, Kevin. I mean, you have several companies, but let's start with Indoor Sun Ag. How did that company start?
Well, it's indoor sun hydro.
Indoor Sun Hydro.
Yeah. So we started in 2010. We started in probably I would say if I remember it was 1,400 square foot. We were probably one of the smallest stores in California. The reason we started was my cousin Ty and me were it was right after 2008. We didn't really have a job. He recently got busted for growing weed. I was growing weed. I never told my family. So you're like, hey, let's just start doing this. Instead of growing and selling weed, let's just grow the supply, see what happens. And yeah, it was tiny little shop. We didn't really think of anything. The first year, we probably played more Call of Duty I ever had in my life.
In the store?
In the store. So we had a computer. We This is a small little strip mall in West Sacramento,
Uh-huh.
not even 10 minutes from where we're at now. And we probably saw two people a day on the first year.
What were they coming in for?
Just kind of curious, looking through, like, oh, what's this? Walk in there. They're not really buying anything, but they just walk in to kind of look at what we're doing. We actually had funny thing. There was a competitor store across the freeway. They used to come in and laugh at us every day.
That's demeaning. The fuck?
They're out of business.
They're out of business.
Yep,
And
they
we're
didn't make it
here.
past their first year.
But they would just stop by just to like rub it in your face that you guys were just starting out.
Yeah, they're like, hey, why don't you instead of buying it from your suppliers, buy from us, buy from us, buy from us. They got They lasted about a year, basically embezzled all their investor money and ran away.
Mm, it's
So
messed up.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
It took a long time to really build our clientele, probably a year and a half. From there, we just kept reinvesting all the money back in the company.
Right. Well, as of today, we just had an incredible sushi dinner. Thank you to you and your family for hosting us. Um, delicious fish overnighted from Japan. you are in a massive warehouse in the industrial green zone of Sacramento. So from there to today, I'm sure you learned a lot.
Yes, I've made a lot of mistakes. I've learned from them, most of them. You can ask my account. She doesn't believe I learned anything over the last 15, 14 years. But yes, we've learned a lot. We've grown a lot. It just, we just kept going at it and at it and at it until we got to where we are today.
Yeah. What are some of those lessons you could teach me?
Follow your gut.
Mm,
Honestly, follow your gut. I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning because I kept trying to follow everybody else's trend. Oh, this guy's doing this. Let me copy him. Let me copy this guy. Let me try to be like him. Let me try to be like him. Let me beat him at his own game. Once I figured out what I'm good at, what makes me happy, that's what brought me success. Because following everybody else's trend and trying to beat the next guy, it's just so there's always someone else can be willing to beat you at that price. And our industry, especially in hydro, it's always about lower prices. Well, this guy could lower his price to this. This guy could lower his price to this. Like, at, I think it was during COVID when I just gave everybody honestly that came to me like, "Hey, this guy gave me this price." Like, then why are you here?
mm,
Tell me why are you here? Because they saw no value in me. And that's where I think the problem lies because no one saw the value in you besides me. Is what can they do to take money out of my pocket and put it line in their pocket?
hmm
And once I realized that that was all I was here for, it was very depressing to be honest. With
Yeah.
you. Yeah. So we just started looking at customers that wanted to stay with us, wanted to do business with us. Let's make them better. What can I do to make your life better? And I focus my energy on making what can I do to help this grower that's willing to support me? How can I make his life better? What products can I make to make it easier for him, better for him? How can I save him money besides just lowering my own profit?
Right.
And that's where I found my most success.
Yeah. Well, you're different than many others. You're unique in that sense. Every other hydro store, a lot of hydro stores out there, kind of the traditional playbook, right, is buy from a wholesaler, sell at some reasonable price to people that are in your community, and hold on for the ride, right? But you have added your own products, your own solutions in the market that you saw missing. And you've also provided consulting and support to growers that it's more than just a price point and a product. It's like, wait, how do I use this? Or, oh, teach me why I should be using something like under canopy lighting.
Yeah. So we become kind of like a partner to the commercial growers in Sacramento. What can I do to make your life better? Is there anything that I could bring in a brand or not just consulting, me coming in there and looking at how you operate and seeing where your deficiencies might be that you don't see, or when I see different products throughout my travels, I'm like, hey, this could help this guy. This could help this guy, and that's where my focus is on now. A lot of my focus now is on creating new products,
Mm.
developing new products, and at a price point where the commercial grower could actually make money, or even home growers could make money selling their products.
And for me, just looking on the outside, Kevin, Faven and Under Canopy Lighting seems to be probably one of your biggest brands at Indoor Sun that you have innovated from the ground up.
Yeah, so not many people know this, but yes, I am Tim's partner at Faven. He came to me after he was basically burned by somebody else and left behind. And
Mhm.
he's like, "Hey, I brought this idea. We want to do this." And I was like, "Dude, just stop bitching about it. Make it yourself." And he's thought about it for a month. Came back to me like, "Okay, let's build this product." We took a product from that's already out in the market. Everybody's like, "Oh, you copy this guy." Like, no, we took a product that's already available that was actually developed for agriculture, but it's not developed for cannabis. We took them like, hey, this works, but it doesn't work for cannabis because of X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
We applied X, Y, and Z to make it work on cannabis, and now everybody has under canopy lighting.
Everyone. Yeah.
Everybody.
This entire NorCal tour has been enlightening. We have been to 5, 6 facilities. Every single one is using under canopy lighting. It's incredible.
It is. It's nothing that the guys were doing wrong. It was just bringing the technology that's available in agriculture and bring it into cannabis, because there's more money spent in R&D
Hmm.
with traditional agriculture than there's ever in cannabis. And you really think about it, if a guy that grows a product that's sold for 99 cents a pound, $1 a pound at wholesale, if they can afford it, why can't we?
Right.
Really think about it. Like, why can't we afford it?
Yeah. I mean, talking about price per pound, I've heard like low 400, 500 for packs right now. Some companies can still demand, 1,000, 1,500 on like the top end.
Yeah.
But those companies at every scale are still trying to reinvest in R&D. And it seems like, again, gosh, like multiple facilities that we've been to, if they're not full blown under canopy, they already have a room that they're testing and they're taking in feedback. I feel like we're right here at such a pivotal time where under canopy is going to be spread throughout the entire industry, and we're at like the crux of it.
Yeah, I think if you don't use under canopy, or just trying to, if you don't use an under canopy, you're going to be left behind, because
Yeah.
the guys are getting 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% extra yield. Those guys can lower the price and put you out of business
And maintain quality,
and
if
maintain
not
quality.
increase
They're
quality.
actually increasing quality for a lot of guys that use it correctly.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing, is how to use it. It's like a weapon. It's a tool. If you don't use it correctly, you're not going to really help yourself. If you're just increasing yield, it doesn't really help you in the long run. You want to increase quality
Mhm.
of your flower, because at the end of the day, without quality, your flower's not going to sell, or at least sell to where you're going to be happy. Because like, I've talked to a lot of guys that build out.
Mhm.
When they build out, they set this number in their head that's sometimes unrealistic, or
We've heard that a lot.
yeah, or just it's, you don't factor in the future. I've had a lot of guys that started growing during COVID, right? A lot of big bills. They're basing all their numbers off COVID prices. You
No.
can't base anything off COVID prices.
Oh, the prices are always changing as well. I mean, the decrease in pound price. I mean, walk me through it. When you were first starting 14 years ago, what would an indoor pack go for?
Indoor pack, when I first started, goes started about anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 bucks. So when I was growing my friend's garage, we're a little four letter, even if we're doing shit product, I could still sell for $3,000 a pound. Like, it will still go.
Yeah,
Now it's like, no,
that's
throw it.
10x more than some packs right now.
Yeah,
They're selling for 3, 400.
yeah. You didn't have that many growers back then, so it's easier to get away with that. I mean, when I was growing, we were lucky to get a pound and a half a light, and we're getting 4 grand a pound. It's 20,000 bucks for a guy that's 20 some years old. Not
Yeah,
bad.
that's pretty good.
It's pretty good. I had a lot of crazy nights at the club because of it. Yeah,
I bet. I
yeah.
bet.
You already know when it was harvest day around us. Yeah.
Yeah, walk into the club smelling like the harvest.
Oh yeah. We stink. But it was how we got away. Like,
Yeah.
the one thing I wish I knew how to do back then was save.
Mm. Money comes, money goes. It's fast.
When it's fast money, you spend it like that. You don't think
Yeah.
about it. That's
Yeah.
the
What
so
would you invest in if you went back?
what would I invest in?
Yeah. Would you buy real estate or something?
At that time, though, we would have been smart. Not really smart, honestly, because that was right at the crash, the real
Mm.
estate crash. You would have lost off your Asher off anyways.
Yeah.
It was me. I don't know what I would do. I'll probably start another business.
Yeah. Different from indoor sun.
More knowing me, I probably would have started a bar.
A bar. Yeah.
I want to be drinking, partying every day.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this was fun. Like, yeah.
Well, I'm glad you didn't, because you probably would have lost your money in that bar as well.
Yep.
And you kept building up Indoor Sun. And today, Kevin, you're in 3 stores, 4 stores?
4 stores. So we have a store in Oklahoma City, indoor sun garden, LA garden in I think we're right outside of the city lines between
Mm-hmm.
county of LA and right where Compton meets. And we have Calaveras Garden Supplies, which is in San Andreas, California.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, we recently went through there as well.
beautiful county.
Oh, super beautiful.
Yeah.
And what's your thought process about having, different stores in different regions? Do you try to model them all after your HQ?
No, so everyone has his own personality. We I've learned to model it after personality of who runs the store for us.
Mm,
So my partner in LA, LA Gardens, Leonard Song, he runs his store very different from how Tina runs her store in Calaveras. Different market. LA is all indoor. Calaveras all outdoor, or
mm,
like that. And we don't even carry the same products.
really?
Honestly, yeah. Most
Okay.
of the time,
That
it's
makes
totally
sense.
different. Different style of growers. You're gonna have to look at the same exact way if you're a grower in Mexico
Mhm.
versus a grower in Canada versus US. We're all gonna use different products.
Yeah,
There is no universal growing style in cannabis. It's
right.
whatever works for you.
Yeah, and there's a lot of really good growers out there that are doing different things, right? Like there could be an outdoor grower that is growing, maybe even the same cultivar as an indoor grower and doing pretty damn good.
Yeah,
Just really depends on the market.
depends on the market, and it really depends on the climate too. Because there's some microclimates throughout California that are perfect for cannabis.
Yeah.
Calaveras County being one, Humboldt County, Mendo, and then Trinity County. There's little pockets where you get just about right amount of sunshine and amount of air going through, where it just thrives. Or you could go to Fresno and just it's just hot.
Yeah.
Cannabis does not like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And talk to me about the future expansion of indoor sun. Could you see yourself in more states? What about countries?
If I expand, I'm looking at different countries
Mm-hmm.
because I think US, at least for where I'm positioned at, we're saturated. There's always going to be somewhere. Is there little pockets throughout the US that I could probably go into? Yes, but I don't want to go into there. I want to go into where, like, let's talk about something that we're thinking about later. Like, I just recently just went to Germany.
Mm-hmm.
The how is it, the energy in the air over there for cannabis is so different.
Yeah.
It's like California in 2000s.
Wow.
Yeah,
So it's 20 years behind.
it's 20 years behind.
So it's got that kind of energy where they don't know what,
It's
price
new.
compression
Oh
looks
yeah,
like yet.
it's new. It's fresh. Like yeah,
Yeah.
we're finally legal. We finally went over that hump.
Yeah.
Like yes, and then you're like, that's gonna fall down.
Yeah. Well, it can't last like that forever in
No.
any industry, right? But I think because I live in Mexico and I like in the Mexican market behind the German market. So if the German market is 20 years behind the US, I think Mexico is like the 90s. I equate it to like a mid 90s, market where there's a strong underground community, there's a strong culture of consuming, but there's no real production yet, right? And
Yeah,
people can grow at home, but that's just about it.
yeah. I don't think you're allowed to sell to right to the public.
It's difficult.
Technically.
It's difficult. But yeah, I think for the most part, the Mexican market, there's really good weed down there, right? But there's also a lot of American brands, specifically California brands, being imported into the Mexican market because the consumers demand it.
Yes, that's correct. I've heard a lot of growers tell me it's actually I'll get more money jumping the border into Mexico
Yeah.
than I do here in California. It's
Yeah.
just because there's not less competition, but the brands are known. Like Instagram has blown up these brands
Backpack
dramatic. Yep.
Boys, Slugger's Hit. I mean, these are Cookies, Stizzy.
Yep.
I see them all over Mexico. Whether they're the actual real product or not, each person will probably have a different story, but the brands are there, right? And that's the amazing thing about, social media, as you're saying. You can have a Cali brand that's consumed all around the world. Whether it's actually that product or not, the brand is there And you see Doja Pack, you see Ryan with Doja Pack
Mhm.
and Juan Quesada with Backyard Boys. They're traveling all around the world, Switzerland, Prague. They're out there at Mary Jane
Yep.
with you. They're building up global brands right now. It's just the supply chain's not quite there yet.
It's not gonna be there anytime soon. So the thing about cannabis, guys, is rules are there and set in place. It the way most growers I know just means it's just another wall for me to jump.
Mm,
It's just something another hurdle for me to go over. It's not gonna stop me
yeah,
because they're like because that's how we've always been.
it's an outlaw culture.
Yeah. We just see it as another challenge in front of our ways.
Yeah,
So I think legal globalization is going to take so many years, but the
really.
demand for cannabis, even think about it, even this 80s, 90s, all the cannabis came from another country most of the time.
Thai
Mexico, Thai
stick,
stick,
Panama red,
all that
Mexican brick.
Mexican brick. I used to
Yeah,
smoke a lot of that when I
all
was younger.
day. Yeah,
So if the demand is there, somebody's going to fulfill it.
yeah. I agree with that. I mean,
So,
looking at the global markets, Kevin, where do you think the countries are going to go? Like, we just got done filming Colombia, for example, right?
mhm,
Like, they're an export only market. There's massive facilities, there's some smaller boutique facilities, but they're already exporting into Israel, into Germany, Australia, Canada, Brazil, those 5 countries, maybe one or more, but they're setting themselves up to be the producer exporter, right? Who do you really think is going to be the importer? Think there's some countries that are just setting up to be import only.
yeah, there is going to be, but like I feel like I understand Colombia could do it cheap, but can
Yeah.
they do it to the quality is a
Time
question.
will tell. I don't think they're quite at that quality level at all right now. When we went out there, there was really only one indoor facility that I even heard of. There's a couple other, but like legal, right?
Mhm,
Licensed. You have the Marimberos culture as well from Santa Marta in that region, that's growing a lot of greenhouse and beautiful weed. We focused on Bogota, which had a lot more of the industry represented, right? Some of the very first cultivation licenses
mhm,
were in Bogota and north of it. What we saw was a large area of opportunity, right? So they were just getting genetics, right? Like American Cali genetics. One of the farms we filmed had like a beautiful lemon cherry gelato, but obviously we've had that for a while.
yep.
So I think they're just getting genetics to be able to compete, as well as the education, and the community. So one of the things I saw that was missing was if you compare it to California, how many decades of growers are here, right? If you're looking to learn how to grow, you could hire someone that's been growing forever. But down there, they have the rose industry. They
Yep.
don't have, you know, 50, 60 years of the top commercial cannabis growers just waiting to be hired. So there's an educational gap.
There's 2 questions I would ask for that. If you're taking somebody that's used to grow roses, right, and you're taking greenhouse retrofitting for cannabis, my question would be what's in that soil? Because
Mm,
there's a lot of poisons that's used in roses,
like pesticides and stuff.
pesticides. There's
Yeah,
so many things that's used because we don't eat roses.
right.
No one really cares what you spray on them because you
Mhm.
don't eat it. And the other thing is exportation. Cannabis does not get better over time.
Right.
So if you grew it and you harvest something in June and it doesn't get soon to like 3 to 4 months down the road in Australia, guess what? That's not going to be premium flower anymore. It might have
Right.
started premium or close to it, but it just doesn't
Yeah.
get any better. How do you store it? And my question would be, how do you ship it to that other country? Is
Yep.
it in a shipping container? Is it on a plane? A plane sits in that underneath that plane is
Heat.
decompressed air. It's hot. It's not getting any better. Put it in a shipping container. If it's not a reefer, it's not
Yep.
getting any better. How do you get it there?
Yeah.
I think
These are great
globally,
questions.
globally, it won't be flour. It has to be some kind of extract,
Mhm.
something you control over time,
Yeah.
either in a pill, liquid form, smokable, whatever. But like, the flour itself, you can't do it. I don't see how you can because I do global shipping now. Something that I ship from China or Indonesia, Vietnam, I don't want to sell anything that could deteriorate or go
Right.
bad, especially on the
Combustible.
combust or getting something over that water. And you're
Mm,
talking about 2 months on the water or 1 month on the water. How long it sits in customs? Customs does not care how your product is stored. Like we're just searching this container. We're
right.
searching this. Even you ship it through air, same thing.
Yeah.
It's not sitting in first class with you upstairs with a nice air
Right.
conditioned seat, right? So
Hmm.
does it get any better? Cannabis, it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah. I could see that as an opportunity because I always see the silver lining in everything, right? I'm not like a, doomsday thinker. I'm trying to find the good and opportunities. And what I see here is almost an opportunity for an entrepreneur like
Mm,
us to come out with some sort of technology to help preserve. And it doesn't have to be just flower, it could be oils, etc. But from what I've heard from the Colombian growers that we met with, they're doing all three of those options.
yep.
They're doing freight over water. They're doing air. They're not really doing too much driving because the
Yeah.
domestic
Yeah.
transportation's not really there yet. But across the board, you're exactly right. You have to have quality grown flower and then some sort of supported transportation, and that's not there yet.
No, not just that. The domestic market where it's going to, and depending on how mature it is, they might not even know what good flour is.
Yeah.
You know, like us in California, we're spoiled because everybody thinks they're the best growers in the world. I still think some of the best growers in the world are in California.
Yeah, I believe
Michigan's
it.
not too far behind. I've seen
Mhm.
some really good stuff coming out of Michigan.
It's the Cali of the Midwest.
Yeah,
Well,
but
I
what?
oh yeah, I was just gonna say I see the Colombian market as not too far behind, and as one of the only countries in the world that can grow and export, similar to like a Portugal, which we'll go film here shortly. They have a massive head start. So if they can import genetics, they can bring in growers, maybe even from California. We filmed one of them, Mark Ziegler, on this podcast. If they can bring in more of that knowledge that's out there, genetics, maybe even some new cultivation practices like using under canopy, they're not too far behind. I think we should invest in that and not try to run away from it.
I agree with you. I think you could build because they're indoor. You could build a facility anywhere in the world and grow quality cannabis if you know what you're doing.
Yeah,
Now the question would be: is there's going to be a lot of governmental hurdles to go through, import laws,
ton of those.
trade laws, trade agreements that
Hmm.
has to get worked out first. Even banking, how do we move money across the world besides Bitcoin? You know, so that's always something different. But I still feel cannabis is not in its infancy, but it's still not nowhere close to being mature yet.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with that. And that's what excites me, right? We're young and we have the opportunity to make this change, right? For the next 30, 40 years, we can actually be in the trenches building out those global logistics, helping different fintech companies come in and provide global banking infrastructure. We're at the cutting edge right now. We are, the gold rush, picks and shovel suppliers.
Yes. Also, but the we're at in California, we're at its closest peak to its maturity.
Yep. I think we're
So
over.
we're over that.
Yeah, I
But
think we've
like
peaked in this market.
peak up and down, up and down. So that's what I'm saying. For us in people in California, either you expand in the US or you expand in the world.
Mhm.
You have two real choices if you want to stay in there. There's a lot of people just burnt out. They don't want to be part of this industry
Yeah.
no more.
Yeah. Well, I like to think that on the ancillary side, at least, we're on our second tranche or pillar or whatever you want to call it, transitioning into our third tranche, right? From the ancillary side, like
Yep.
I see, even just in the nutrients, right? I see the GHs and botanicals almost as like tranche one,
Yep.
right? Level one. And they didn't want to go to tranche two. They wanted to exit, and they did, and Hawthorne and other companies have acquired those brands. And then we went into tranche 2 where there's a lot of brands out there that we could name all day that were born, right? And now they're getting out or, thinking about getting out. What's tranche 3 look like to you? I see Faven as a tranche 3 brand. You're not just starting that to get out a year from now, you're building for the future.
Yeah, we are building. We're coming out with new technology every day. We're always spending a lot of time R&D. What can we do to make this plant express this, express what the customer wants, the end
Mhm.
users want. And then there's always going to be new fertilizer company. There's always going to be something new. But like going forward, it's gonna be really difficult to say because I think tranche 3 that you're talking about, traditional agriculture wants to get in here. They haven't been
Mm.
able to get in yet because of without federal legalization, but they're preparing, they're geared up, and guys are gonna have to be able to adjust to that.
Who
Like
are these brands? Are you talking like traditional ag,
like Yara, Haifa, the big salt guys
they're
around the world.
here.
They're here, but they're not here in name.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of agricultural groups. Don't want to name them because they're probably not going to like it.
Okay.
But yes, we've been working with them for years,
Yeah.
and they see this market as it's still in its infancy compared to what they're used to. Like, hey, that's nice. You guys are $10 billion. Yeah, we're like 100, $200 billion company. So they still see
Their
cannabis as
company themselves.
yeah.
I mean, just to me, right? Because we've both worked with them for so long. I think the quintessential example of Big Ag already being here would be like a Scott's Miracle Grow, right? They put together the vehicle of Hawthorne to go through and acquire the tranche ones. They're acquiring tranche 2 companies right now. And I'm sure they're sitting in a boardroom similar to this, thinking about, do we bring new products to market in tranche 3 or do we acquire, someone?
They're going to acquire whoever is in tranche 2.
Yeah.
It's easier to pay somebody to develop something new.
Yeah.
And going through the marketing, going through the grunge, the everyday work, it's very difficult to do. I've tried it many times. I failed many times. And
You've acquired companies?
no, I mean, I tried developing companies.
Mm,
Yeah, I started different brands, different this, different that, and it's hard. It's difficult. It's a lot of work.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, a lot of marketing, which I am not good at.
Yeah. Well, that's why you have partners like myself and Grow World, right? We're here to help you bring your brands into different productions and partners. But you're exactly right. A lot of these companies, one of the greatest challenges is just surviving, and especially in this market right now where it is compressed. Imagine your customer used to be making 10x more than they are.
Mhm.
They're buying less. If not, now they stop buying your product.
Yeah. So one of the things I always told commercial growers, they don't like hearing because what I tell them is kind of impossible right now. But be prepared to get your production under X amount. I tell them like $200.
Per pound.
Yeah,
Indoor?
finished indoor. I know I'm gearing them for 10 years down the road.
That's your like you gotta be able to limbo below 200 US dollars per pound of
Finished.
indoor.
Yeah, a finished quality product. I tell them that because I want to set them a goal that's very difficult that you reach now because I think California weed is going to be like French wine. We're going to ask for a higher amount of money because our demand is going to be higher. And I want you to get it low enough to where you can still make money. It's a crazy number. I just thought of it in my head, but it gears them like, hey, say they're at 500-600 bucks. How do I get it down there? It's just a way for me to get
Well,
them to think that way.
do the math for us right now. Let's say you're currently selling a pack for 600 bucks or whatever. How are you going to do it? How are you going to third that? Like what are the first things you cut out of your operation?
Human labor.
Okay.
Because if you really think about it, what costs the most in cannabis is human labor.
Absolutely.
Because the property isn't really going to change, right? Because if you have a property that's licensed, you can't change the brand, you can't change all that stuff unless you negotiate with the landlord, right?
It's a
For like,
fixed
it's a
cost
fixed
for the
cost.
most part.
Your accounting, everything's fixed. Only thing that's usually variable is labor. So a lot of guys now they shrink their labor as low as they can, and they bring in help whenever they need it.
Flex up, flex down,
Yep.
contractors.
And if we could eventually do it with robots, automated, because if you look at traditional agriculture now,
Oh, so much robotic.
it's all robotics. I just saw this cool thing on a commercial for a lettuce cutter in the middle of the field. Cuts, zooms your lettuce head, make sure it's perfect, cut it, package it, all
Right
done
there.
right there. So it's a one-time fixed cost besides repair and maintenance.
Yeah. That's a futuristic outlook for cannabis.
I know
You think it's feasible?
it's feasible.
That
Yes,
type of robotics in the grow room?
if they could do it for produce, lettuce, they could do it for cannabis.
Yeah. I have one of my college buddies, Travis. He went into the field of robotics, and specifically, he was working at a company that was robotic, field agriculture.
Mhm.
It's like a massive indoor lettuce grow operation, right? They actually tried cannabis, but they had robotics go place a pod for that seed or whatever clone to
Yep.
sprout out. They would go automatically harvest it. It almost reminded me of like when Amazon acquired that warehouse automated sorting company. Have you ever seen those videos of how
Yeah,
it
the little
works?
robots that lift it.
Yeah, pick and pack, right?
That's the future Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what Amazon's doing right now, and that's what this company is doing for controlled environment agriculture, specifically like lettuce and food crop production, because we can't always grow outdoors. Um, they actually abandoned the cannabis project that they were doing R&D on, but I thought that was fascinating. I've never seen anything like that for cannabis.
I think for cannabis, the most expensive cost, at least for what I've seen for indoor, is post processing, trimming.
Mm,
It's very labor intensive.
yeah.
Growing itself isn't very labor intensive, but like post process is. So like I went to a facility yesterday, 60% of the staff was all post processing,
Whoa.
trimming, bucking,
They were hand trimming?
hand trimming.
Yeah.
So if you could do it with a bunch of lasers,
Yeah.
you just never know. That's gonna significantly drive down the cost.
Right.
Yeah. So
And in
that
the grow room itself, I mean, I see nowadays a lot of automation like Arroya helping to cut down on the hand watering or figuring out, where their problems are. They just laser point to it and send a mobile crew to go through their, 10 plus, bloom rooms to figure out where that identified problem is and then go solve it.
there was a technology I looked at in about 2018 used in greenhouse for commercial roses. So what they did was they have cameras throughout the entire facility. So based on that camera, it could tell how much growth happened within the last 24 hours, if there's any bug issues. So the entire facility is all robots. There's
Wow.
nobody in.
And
And
those
there's
roses?
these are roses. I believe the greenhouse was based in Canada. I just saw the video of it. But from a remote location, a master grower uh, looks at the program. It tells like, hey, we're having some issues here. What is this issue? It gives you a suggestion. Oh, it's a bug. Let's spray for it. It just sprays that one area.
Whoa.
It's crazy. So
Huh. Almost like, okay, so you're saying instead of having the drip irrigation lines, it's almost like an IPM line?
no, this is totally different. This is replacing using a single master grower for 1,000 acres, 100 acres, whatever that might be. But having one person be able to access it through all cameras using technology. Irrigation is totally different. Irrigation
And
is
they
on the same.
control it from a panel?
You control from a computer. That guy was in when I talked to him was he was in Iowa or Idaho or something like that.
And I look at doctors now, surgeons doing full on heart transplants
Lasers.
from different
Yeah.
countries.
I mean, with the new technology and robots, AI and everything, we might even not even need humans for no more. What are we gonna do?
Right. Well, that's a big discussion point right there. Like, what happens when we are no longer, you know,
We need to do something.
don't take us out, robots, please. I'm a good boy. Um, Well, you're right on the money. I think cannabis needs to be able to get down to that price point, and there's not too much other things to do or implement other than a reduction of headcount. And even out here in NorCal, we filmed several facilities out here, and it's kind of interesting. I have seen two different trends. I have seen the massive indoor warehouse with literally less than 10 people that are managing massive rooms with a lot of automation, and a lot of control and crushing it. You'll be able to see these episodes shortly. And then the other side, I have seen an even bigger farm, that's like not indoor, not greenhouse, kind of like a greenhouse plus type model, where they have over 400 head count, because they're doing so much in post harvest. As you said, they're making infused
Yep.
joints, etc. So it's kind of interesting to see the different models out here. Um, but it's, I don't know, like, is this what's going to be throughout the rest of the United States and other markets,
I
these
think
trends?
what you're looking for is you want to do it under one roof later on.
Okay.
There's going to be industries that specialize in one part of the product or the
Mhm.
process. Let's say one industry, like, hey, you grow it in this greenhouse in Sacramento. So there's a specialized post processor company down the street somewhere else that can centralize everybody else's post processing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with any industry, right? You don't want to do everything from top to bottom in one facility. You want to compartmentalize everything else into different areas. So one company could do all the post process in the say Sacramento area. Everybody shares the cost. Cost of goods goes down.
Mm. So you are promoting, Kevin, less vertical integration, more strategic supply chain partnerships,
I'm not promoting it, but
toll processing.
I'm not promoting it, but I'm just telling you, if they ever want to lower costs, you have to think something like that,
Yeah.
where you centralize everything.
Well, we saw that, episode 4 of our last show, Canner Cribs, was at Los Sueños Farms. I believe it was 36, what was it? 30, Jason's in the room. It's something 36. I think it was 36,000 plants. It was outdoor over 3 or 4 lots that were like conjoined. And they were the largest outdoor farm licensed in America at the time. I'm sure there's probably some competitors now, but this is in Pueblo, Colorado. Right down the road was Purple Bees Organics, and they were the strategic supply chain partner doing 100% of their extraction.
Mhm.
And actually, I found this out a couple years later. I was at like MJ Biz, and one of the people who bought both of them came up to me, and actually, I think he was with Los Sueños. He's like, "Hey, thank you so much for that episode you did, because that was actually a huge point of why I believe it was Medicine Man Technologies acquired them,
Mhm.
because they saw the vision. You have this massive outdoor farm sending all of their flower to extraction, and it's 5 minutes down the road with this, guy over here with a very small extraction team, but pumping out oil. I see that. I definitely see that vision.
Well, that's the way you have to look at it. It's like same thing in any industry. Walmart has stores everywhere. Walmart doesn't have their own facility for every little thing in there. They export or import from somewhere else. It's centralized. It's like
Mm,
let's say I don't, whatever cereal they have, right? Whatever brand. Let's say Walmart might be not the best thing. Kirkland, Kirkland
yeah.
from Costco.
Love Costco.
I love Kirkland. I buy everything they make. Okay,
Yeah,
but they don't make any of that product. So like if you Costco only does one thing and one thing good, which is their memberships and getting people to sign up because most of their money is made in membership, not in
for
selling a
sure.
product.
That's MRR. That's monthly recurring revenue right
Yeah.
there.
So like if we could they centralize everything else into other companies that specialize in this. I don't need to make everything. I just need to be able to sell everything or sell under
Do you
in the one
model indoor sun after a Walmart or
more
Costco?
more Costco. So
Okay.
like for us, we have AgPro 360, which is our house brand, which is their Kirkland, basically their Kirkland brand. We
Do you have the
depending
rotisserie chicken in the back?
sometimes.
Or something like that. What is your rotisserie chicken?
Well, we do
Your loss leader.
a loss leader. We don't really have loss leaders. We
Okay.
we want to make profit on everything, and the reason we do, but what we do is we partner with strategic manufacturing firms to make our product for us. We don't actually make it. So like cannabis, going back to cannabis, we don't have to do everything in house. The problem about cannabis right now, they have to do everything in house.
because it's required by
It's
law.
required. You don't. You need. Let's say you want to post process. You have to get a separate license to post process this location. So they always post process in their own facility. You know, which might not be the best place to post process because you have the grow here, your extraction here, your trimming here, like cross contamination. There's a bunch of other things.
Yeah, but they're
So
trying to control their own fate.
yeah, I understand that, but is it the most economical way of doing it?
Right.
I don't think so. There's better ways of doing it in the future. I'm always thinking 10 years down the line where what we need to do to get down there to
Hmm.
even survive, to make it 10 years down the road.
Well, if you're selling indoor packs for $200, do you send some of that bulk flower to a toll processor right down the road?
Well, I mean, let's say Sacramento, there's 80 to 100 something grows here, right? If they all didn't have to post process in their own facility and send it off site, their cost of goods can be a lot cheaper.
Hmm.
This is what I'm telling. That's what I'm thinking more
It's
of.
a lot of machinery to do post harvest, depending on what products you're making, but a lot of labor. Again, that
It's labor.
the Natura facility that I was referencing earlier, it's an incredible company. I'm sure you visited them. It seemed like, Kevin, the majority of their headcount, I think they said about 450 employees,
I seen their
were
parking is down the entire street.
exactly pre rolls, their Sluggers Hit brand. They had multiple edibles kitchens. It was one of the most amazing facilities I've ever toured before in our 8, 9 years of doing this. And I think if I were to go vertically integrated, that would be the vision right there. But what you're saying is if that's not your model and you're more of the let's have, a massive indoor facility, a lot of automation, maybe 5 to 6 people on a like floating crew, they shouldn't be doing post
They
harvest.
shouldn't. So let's say we separate the growing is here,
Uh-huh.
post process is here, packaging here, and that if you could share the cost between multiple companies or
Mhm.
just outsource it to that one company, would not be better?
I mean, again, it's different
It's
business models altogether. And I
yep.
could see a market where both of those succeed. For a company for a company like Natura, they have their own house of brands. And, I think they even said 50% goes to bulk still, which is a lot. But they're producing 70,000 pounds of weed per year out of their single Sacramento grow operation, and they're saying 35,000 goes to Feel, Sluggers Hit,
Mhm.
Lolo, D, Thai Gummies, etc. Their other brands, Iced and Spritz. Whereas a Friendo, our homie Steve over there, the
Yep.
the farm that we filmed, was more of the super high quality, massive indoor facility with a very small team, less than 10 people. I could see futures where both of those are competing. But Steve doesn't necessarily have 5 house brands that he's building up and marketing and selling through.
Yeah, it's gonna be the way you're thinking about the way Natura is thinking, it's big commercial.
Yeah.
Where Friendo is more boutique.
Yep.
So the reason I don't think they could really compete because they're going for different market.
Yeah. Different price points, different products on the shelf as well. And again, I cannot say right now, Kevin, one is better than the other. It really depends on what their goals are. I was chatting with my crew after we filmed Natura. We always do kind of like a post, brief. And I was telling these guys, I was like, listen, they've raised just shy of $100 million. They're a privately held company. They are a single location. They have everything under one roof, literally everything, including some, breeding and genetics and R&D projects, and an incredible team to do everything. That is the type of company that could and would go public, and I would buy shares in.
My
Um,
question would be, If someone did the exact same thing in Mexico, how much cheaper can they undercut Natura by?
Oh boy,
Right?
the country of Mexico.
Yeah, the country of Mexico.
So if I were to run or, build a Natura in Mexico, I would almost exclusively do greenhouse. I wouldn't have like too much indoor, and I'd probably have a different product line as well. Not to say that Natura's products wouldn't be sold in Mexico, but maybe again, if it's a domestic market versus export,
Mhm.
that's where I really get fascinated, Kevin, is the menu right now is being set locally because we're selling to the local market. As soon as American cannabis brands and American weed can be exported into Mexico, exported maybe even down to Colombia,
Mhm.
other markets that open up, how is the menu going to change, you know?
It's gonna be a different flavor because, like, when I went to Germany,
Mhm.
the guys were still asking me for like, oh, when's the what? Like, they're still growing hazes. I'm like, I haven't heard about hazes in
Long
damn near
time.
20 years.
Like a super silver haze.
Super haze, amnesia hazes. I was
Mhm.
like, you're growing what? It's been so long. I mean, I used to hear
You
about that.
forgot about
It was in the
it.
'90s the last time I seen these hazes. I'm like, I didn't know these are even
That's
still
their
popular.
palette right now.
The European market was different. The way I was told is once you're happy with one brand, you don't change. You're happy with one flavor, you don't change. Americans love changing
Oh,
everything.
dude, every week.
Yeah, it's always something different. They're stuck in their ways. But we when we're there, we there was some California flavors out there and they were super happy to try it.
Hmm.
So I don't know what it really means because when I talk to the local person, like, I want hazes, I want this, I want this old stuff. And then when you brought out the purples, the purple candies, they're like, oh, I've never seen that before. What is this?
Like
I've
that
never,
Cali.
yeah, they've never seen cannabis look like this. This
Uh-huh.
is totally exotic. What we're used to seeing is exotic to them.
It's like being the first person to bring in dragon fruit, like, to the US,
Yeah. Or, yeah.
or
How's
that fruit we had the other
the
day,
durian? How do you
durian.
like that?
It was the stinkiest fruit I've ever had, but I actually really enjoyed it. It's like a custard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's either you love it or hate it.
Yeah. And that, I mean, to the American market is brand new,
Yep.
but somewhere else in the world that's like, "Oh,
That's normal.
we just eat it all the time."
Yeah,
Like,
it's native to sorry, Malaysia. Sorry, Malaysia is
Malaysia,
native to Malaysia. They eat it. They're normal. To
everywhere.
us, they're like, "What is this? I've never seen this." It's the same thing when you go. We went to Europe.
Yeah.
What is this?
What was the quality of the weed like out there? Those hazes
Which one in
in Germany?
Germany? Stuff that's grown in Europe.
Mhm.
Look like stuff I used to grow in my garage.
Wow.
Wasn't that great
Wow.
compared to now.
So huge room for improvement out there.
At least from what I saw. I didn't get to see everything. I'm sure there's some pretty great growers out there.
Yeah.
Don't get mad at me, growers. I just haven't seen it. That's what I'm
Well, it's
saying.
whatever your perspective
Yeah, I
is.
was only there for 5 days, so don't
Yeah.
kill me on that.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's probably a bunch of great growers there. It's just not they're not growing to scale where I was seeing it everywhere.
Right.
Honestly, most of the weed I saw I'm pretty sure came from America. Like at least the bulk stuff.
Trap.
Trap, yeah.
Yeah.
Trap or Canada, wherever it came from. It wasn't locally grown.
Wow.
Yeah.
You'd say majority of the weed.
I didn't I was like I said, I was only there for 5 days, so I
Yeah.
can't say I saw a majority of the weed. What I saw looked like California weed
Right.
or something that's grown in America. Yeah. So that's how I felt. What I did see that was local reminded me of 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
Because
know Portugal exports a lot into Germany. In Colombia, some of the farms we filmed was exporting into Germany.
see,
Why is that? They don't have a domestic cultivation up and running
no,
yet.
there's no domestic cultivation. Last when we went out there, domestic cultivation for them, you weren't allowed to apply for a license until July 1st of this year. When we were out there, it was the middle of June,
Hmm.
so there was nothing there. The other issue would be infrastructure. They have a bunch of infrastructure buildings. They don't have the power grid necessary for cultivation.
DQs, under canopy,
That is not even. We're talking about just power,
just in
just
general,
in
just to
general.
light your
Yeah,
crop.
yeah. They don't have enough power.
Will they ever have it?
They will if they put the money into infrastructure, because
That's
when
expensive
it is
though.
expensive. So one of the questions I was asking the potential grower over there in Germany, the social club, he's like, "Hey, we have a social club of 200 clients that we could grow for." I think they said they grew up to 4 plants for each one. I can't
Okay.
remember.
So like
They
800 plants.
Yeah, they have a facility that's 200,000 square feet. This
Oh,
old industrial building in East Berlin. Yeah, but we only have 200 amps a panel. Like, what do you mean you
that's
have
not gonna
200?
cut
Like,
it.
that's not gonna cut nothing. Like that's less than my house.
Yeah.
Well, they're like, yeah, but like the wait for a power upgrade into that building, they're like, we're looking at a few years. And because of the Ukraine war, we have no transformers. Guess what? Every transformers gets sent to Ukraine because it gets blown up by the Russians.
Wow.
So like they don't know when they're gonna get up and running.
So Germany recently went legal. You can grow at home.
No, I don't know the rules, but what I was told is you could be part of a social club
Okay.
and they could grow for you.
Okay.
I may be wrong, I didn't check the rules, but what I was told was there's these social clubs throughout Germany where you could consume at that facility. They could grow for you.
Mm-hmm.
Similar
Kind of like
to,
early med
yeah,
days.
215 days when
Yeah.
we used
Prop
to,
215.
yeah, when I used to have these license from recommendation from a doctor to grow 99 plants in my garage. It's
Mm-hmm.
very similar to that. That's how far back they are.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're literally like 20 plus years behind the American market and
Yes.
infrastructure as
It,
well.
yes. And then the only thing about it is they didn't have to go through the learning curve like we did. So if like somebody from California went through all this learning curve and went there, they got 20 years experience.
The same exact thing in Colombia. That's what I was saying is there's not a massive underground growing community with decades of experience that they can just pull on,
Yep.
right? And it's not like the rest of the world as well. I mean, there's pockets, of course, but there's nothing like a California cannabis grower.
Yeah. Well,
Doesn't exist outside of here.
if you actually go to different emerging markets in America, a lot of the growers came from California.
Florida,
Yep.
New York, all these markets that are turning on.
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts, Cali growers are going out there
Yep.
demanding a higher salary or comp package.
Well, when Oklahoma first started out, more than half the applications came from California growers.
Mm, that's fascinating.
Yeah. They all came from California or Colorado or Washington. The three first states to legalize.
Yeah.
That's what we're exporting now. It's pretty much experience and technology,
Yeah.
uh, human labor.
Yeah.
So how do you call it? Human resources.
Yeah. I know we have incredible Dutch growers. I mean, really, there's incredible
Yeah.
growers all around the world, but what we're really getting at is the embedded community, right? The community of growers for hire. And when you've been growing as long as California and as much as California has
Yeah.
been growing, right? Like you've seen more than just a tent grow.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe the German market, like the best weed, maybe there's a handful of little underground facilities around the country, but like the majority of the growers that are maybe even going and getting a license has been growing less than 100 plants.
Yeah. This is a thing I've noticed about some of the best growers. They're introverts. So they don't want people to know I grow, like they go good weed. So they're like, I rather stay at home, do what I do at a smaller scale than take this and go do that.
Right. Right.
Yeah. They're some of the best growers I know. They grow. I had this little grandma grow 6 plants in her backyard.
A grandma.
Grandma, like it was fire because
She's got that green thumb.
she got that green thumb. I'm telling you, it's fire. I was like, how the hell do you grow this? It's like, yeah, all natural, all organic, everything like that. But 6 plants though. But she did a great job for first try.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was blown away. But I've seen some really I've seen it all basically. I've seen commercial growers that grow shit. I've seen growers that grow commercial growers that grow fire. Home growers
Mhm.
that don't know what the hell they're doing. By the time they show me, it's a plant that's half dead on the side of the road. Okay, and then the other one's like, "Oh my god, you did a great job."
Yeah.
So I don't know what I'm trying to get to that, but
No, you're right on the money, man. I mean, that's one thing that I wish more people would take into consideration, especially with like how much video content we're producing and people, leaving comments on like, "Oh, that's not good weed" or this or that. It's like put into perspective who's growing it, where they're from, and the local community around them as well.
well,
Like
the
if someone's growing trash weed in Sacramento, they're not in business, because there's so many good growers out here. But if you're growing in a country that hasn't had 60, 80, 100 years of cannabis growing and they're producing at scale, and maybe they do need to dial in genetics, tech, director of cultivation from America, um, let's not put them down. Let's try to help build them up.
yes, there's another thing. It's I learned this the hard way myself. Scaling up is very difficult. I tried that a few times, going from 4 lights to 25 lights overnight. You'd think it was, oh, I just do a little bit more work. No, it's not. It's a great multiplier. You need to do a lot more work. So I've learned that the hard way myself. That was one thing guys don't understand. Like, if a guy's like head grower of 1,000 lights and he started with a 10, most of those guys fail because you can't scale that up that
Right.
easily. And then there's guys that are stuck in their old ways too. This is how I found success at a 10 light grow. It doesn't work on a 1,000 light grow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One of the trends that I've seen out here in Sacramento, specifically, let's take like Connected and Alien Labs and Natura. They both have OG growers and
Mhm.
people from the game like Caleb and Ted and Josh, etc. But they've both brought in people like Ian Justice and Joe and Heather over here, that are from traditional ag
Mhm.
and have been in breeding programs like Ian, for example, at Connected, he was doing breeding at Driscoll's,
Yep.
Driscoll Berries. And they headhunted him. And he said no at first when they figured it out. And now he's been helping Connected and Alien Labs scale like across multiple states. So I love to see that. I think that's the winning combination when you can have both a cannabis culture and grower partner up with someone that does know about the future of big ag,
Yep.
whether it's fruits or vegetables or cut flowers. When they come together, I think they produce the best weed in the world.
Yeah. It like I was going back. Well, I was saying earlier, when we tried to scale with no experience, we failed off our ass. It was horrible.
Yeah.
It was bad. And having someone that has experience in scaling, like like from Driscoll, it just makes your life so much easier.
Yeah. It's the winning combo, man. I mean, again, it's knowing how to grow cannabis and knowing how to grow plants. Those are not always the same person. And that's okay. We should be able to celebrate people entering into this industry that has spawned from, maybe an underground plant to now in commercial production. And I don't know. I'm on my soapbox at this point, but I really do think we should celebrate more people coming into this industry from outside, as well as we just met with Fred Barnum. Do you know Fred? He's
No.
No, he's over at Starts and Finest,
Okay.
and he's working with Justin Givens, who's has a background in cannabis production. He's working with Matt, who has a background in academia and tissue culture and science, right? And the three of them, Fred coming into the industry in his 60s, helping to fund these companies and bring everything he's learned from construction and other, commercial real estate. They have the perfect team, right? They have a little bit of a combination that, again, if you just have people sitting around a boardroom trying to set the menu, or just cannabis growers trying to, run a P&L, it's not going to work as well.
No. Yeah, you need a synergy of the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
And that's difficult to do. I've seen a lot of companies fail
Mm-hmm.
because egos get in the way, but I've
Mm.
seen a lot of companies thrive that's willing to work with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So more of that. Well, in closing here, Kevin, you have built an incredible empire on the picks and shovel side of the industry, and have come from the trenches of growing and the culture, and you've made that transition over to the business side, which not a lot of people do. Crossing that chasm is difficult, so I commend you for that. And I'm curious, I know you still have a lot of expansion to do in other countries and new technology. What's your legacy that you want to leave behind for, let's say, tranche 5, tranche 6 of the future of this plant?
Uh, it's kind of hard to say. I don't know where I fit in. I'm just being honest. I really don't. I
Mm,
take it day by day. And the thing about me is, I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm just doing it because I'm learning from my mistakes.
mm,
I come in there, like, I look at different ways to help people. And I'm probably the worst one to say this, but I don't look at the future. I'll be honest with you. I look at it day by day. How can I help you step by step by step? I've never been good at planning anything. I don't know what I'm going to do next week. And that's just how I operate. And it works for me. It's weird, but it works for me.
you're mindful.
I'm careful. Let's say that. I think of different ways to not make mistakes.
Mm,
That's what I'm afraid of, is making mistakes.
yeah.
So
The fear of failure. And I just heard that yesterday from Fred over at Finest and Stair Starts. Is he said, I love to hire people that are they're fearful of failing, not people that want to succeed. And that's a different breed of person. You don't want to fail. You don't want to let down your family, yourself, your employees. You feed so many families around this community, as well as around the states through your other stores. You don't want to let them down.
yes, let's just say this. Why my partnerships work a lot of time is they're usually optimistic. I'm pessimistic.
Mm,
So they're like, "Oh, we want to do this, this, and this." Like, yeah, what about this? We did this wrong. We did this wrong. Well, we have to do this before we get to your optimism. Let's figure out all the pitfalls, how to avoid the pitfalls, how to before we get there, and
yeah.
that's what I've learned because when I become optimistic, I failed. I'll be honest. I failed because I forget what naturally comes natural. What was natural for me is being pessimistic.
Mm,
So like I like, oh, let's not stop here, here, here. Like we want to get to here. Like let's void this, void this, void this, void this.
yeah.
That's how
That's
we.
your superpower.
I wouldn't
And
say superpower, but
it's a
like
superpower.
it's just who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like honestly, like even being here, talking on camera, I do not like it.
It feels weird.
It feels weird. I don't like being on camera. I've always been in the background. It, I don't like I'm saying, it just doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
That's always how it's been. I did it. I'm here. I'm trying my best. I don't like it.
Well, you did a wonderful job. We have completed our interview today. So this is a perfect way to end it is we're out. But thank you. I mean,
Head guards, I'm not gonna replace you with robots. I was just rambling. I'm just thinking about the
it's
future.
going a very long way until we have robots replace growers. But
Yeah.
I mean, one final note on that. When we were walking through Natura, we walked through their boiler room where they had all these different desks, and one of their head growers had this massive monitor on the screen and like 3 computer screens with a lot of data and dashboards. And that's on the way to introducing robots and more automation, is you don't have to be in every single pot, every single Kaya Coco Core bag
Hmm.
looking at your plants. You can have a balance. But I hear what you're saying.
Like I love automation, but this is why I'm telling you that what I tell everybody with automation. The automations should back up what your eyes see and what you feel. because you should know what the plants look like. If the plants are telling me I'm not happy and it's sensors or technology like, oh, he's happy. Like, no, please listen to your eyes and
Mm-hmm.
ears and how you feel.
Yeah. Too much of one thing is wrong, right? And again, big ag, you're managing 10,000 acres of
Yeah.
something. You can't be everywhere at once. So you use automation and technology to help you. And with cannabis, right, you can't have all of that and still grow this plant the way it needs to be grown. So again, balance.
Yeah.
Having two different types of people or three different types of people come together to form a team, that's what this industry needs.
Yeah. It's a balance of humans that work together and same that could bring the best out of this plant.
Mhm. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the future of cannabis right there that we need to cultivate. Well, Kev, thank you so much, man. Again, I know I really pulled you into
I
this one to get in front of the cameras, but you're gonna inspire a lot of people. That's why I did it, and I appreciate you stopping by today.
appreciate you and your team.
Yeah. Well, I'll see you in Spain, Portugal, Germany. We're gonna be going around the world bringing
Yeah, I
indoor
won't be on
sun.
camera, guys. This is the
No,
last time I'm doing this.
last time he's in front of the camera, he'll be behind the cameras. We have a new assistant director here, Kevin Vu. Thank you so much, bro. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening to the Grow World podcast. Don't forget, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram. Until next time.